Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today's guest expert is an author and entrepreneur. Tracy Repchuk is the author of 31 Days to Millionaire Marketing Miracles. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, George, for having me.
Now, I know you've got a lot of achievements under your belt, but could you just highlight a few of them?
I think the biggest is I've spoken in over 35 countries. I'm a trusted TV resource, and I have won a lot of awards, including accolades from the White House.
That is so cool. All right, well, you're a successful business person and an author, but you also are a successful mom. And I'd like to talk today a little bit about how you achieve this balance of work and family, or I guess we could encapsulate that topic as women in business to a certain extent. So to just start off, I guess the most fundamental question would be, how do you balance such a high achievement work world or work ethic with managing a family?
Yeah, in the beginning especially. So one of the beautiful things I think that we did was I moved me and my husband home. We had a staff of 15. We let them go virtual. And that was in 1995. So we're home now raising our children, and we had boom, 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 3 kids in a row. So I've got them at my feet while I'm trying to, at that time, run a software company. So it did become a balancing act, one that required incredible focus, discipline, and very late nights. I would actually work when they were sleeping, and we would function that way, but worth everything. I think the greatest gift and achievement of all my life has been where those children are now.
Wow, very cool. Well, just to elucidate a little point, when you mentioned virtual, so what you're meaning, as I understand it, is the employees and or associates that you're working with, they're actually working out of their homes or offices, and your actual production is handled on the phone and on computers. Is that correct?
Exactly. So back when we did that, 98, 95, there wasn't the home-based business, really. We were like groundbreaking. And in fact, people said we were crazy to attempt to move our business home and let staff kind of run amok, as they were calling it, by working from their home. And again, it became great for them because they got to, be their own boss in a way. All they had to do was, of course, report in and meet production.
Cool. Now, you actually bring up an additional point. So you're not only talking about your personal balance of family and work, but you're also working with your husband in this particular business. Not everyone does that. So could you comment on that dynamic?
Oh my God, fabulous. I can't imagine not spending, it kind of breaks down to 24/7 with my spouse, my business partner, my everything really. Between operating the business and then of course maintaining a family dynamic and then making all of that grow and expand, it took this incredible unit and harmonious environment that we had built to make that happen.
Cool. Could you comment on how you sort of divide up some of the responsibilities? Because you got kids who need to eat and might need their diapers changed, and yet you have a client meeting, and your husband has certain things he needs to get done by certain times, and so do you. So how do you actually manage the mechanics of a day-to-day operation like that?
Yeah, it takes a lot of scheduling, and it takes a lot of compromise on many cases. And again, I have the world's greatest husband because he handled most of that. Because I'm a speaker, I could be traveling all over the world, TV appearances, working with the clients. Because I'm kind of the whole front of the company, that's where I always need to be. And so he was like, the hairdresser, the feeder, the bus run, everything. And so he handled the majority of that, but what was beautiful is in most cases we both attended anything, like their plays and their soccer games and all of the important elements of their life, we were both there for. And I think especially from a dad's perspective, that was so rare and really such a great gift.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be very rewarding. Mm-hmm. Now let's break this down into perhaps some simple concepts that someone could actually embrace to do something today, all right? Because what you've just outlined sounds like a tremendous amount of scheduling that probably got refined over the years. But now we have, let's just take a concept of someone who is maybe just got laid off or is just wanting to start their own business and has a family, has an existing job. What would be some first steps?
So some first steps is setting up the boundary. Where's the workspace going to be? And now in our case, we had an office And we had, like, my husband was there and I was here, and the 3 kids would kind of play here when they wanted to. But they understood to be quiet. And again, we raised them in this office environment. When that hasn't occurred, of course, you have to set up very specific boundaries, like, hey, when mommy or daddy is in this room, you please don't knock if the sign, and you're going to have to get a sign up and things of that nature. Let them know this is workspace and this is home space.
Cool. Now, a lot of modern business requires that folks work quite a lot, all right? That just means it could go into the evening, it could include weekends. How do you handle that?
Yeah. It is a lot. There's the kind of the fantasy of once you go home and have your home-based business that the hours diminish because of the 4-hour work week and all these magical things that occur. Quite frankly, you do work around the clock to launch a company for sure. And in fact, to keep the growth still requires a lot of work. So how you manage that is, again, it comes down to discipline, boundaries, focus. So in our case, as we were growing up, of course, our time in the day was practically devoted to the kids when they were of the younger years. Then when they got a little older, a little more independent, then we started, of course, to integrate into our lives the structure for more client calls, more client meetings. And then when they were a little older, then we started to travel around the world, because if I was speaking in Australia or Singapore or Dubai or any of these other places, then we started to travel as a family unit, and that was just incredible.
Wow, that does sound good. Okay, cool. So if I'm to take something away already from your conversation, it seems like there's a heavy emphasis on scheduling. Would that be correct?
Correct. Scheduling, discipline, focus, responsibility. Those 4 things are kind of crucial to all of this. And then getting in systems and structure, because that has been the foundation to my ability to build the company.
Okay, cool. So since the scheduling I think is pretty easy to understand, could you elaborate a little bit on what you actually mean by, for instance, discipline and focus?
Okay, so discipline. You're sitting in your house, right? The laundry may need to be done, things need to be cleaned, whatever, right? You can't go off and do that. If this is your work time, this is your work time. And so you have to learn to ignore any of the other things that might be beckoning your attention. So that's the discipline part of it.
Okay, so focus, could you comment on that?
So focus. When you are at work and you have your task, again, add some scheduling and time management to the actual time. Let's say you're in a 2-hour slot in the office. And now you've got to say, okay, for this hour I'm going to do client calls. For this hour I'm going to put in structure. For this hour I'm going to do outbound communication, whether that's letters, postcards, marketing, internet, social media, whatever you want to add to that. And make sure that you fit the important pieces that are going to pull money or attention into the company instead of spending all day maybe on admin, tidying your desk, whatever it is. You really have to stay focused on the task.
Good. Okay, now, do you have any thoughts on a person who has an idea they want to start their own business, but they're really not sure what direction they want to go? But they know they want to work at home and they want to be able to have some interaction time with their family. Do you have any thoughts for them?
So generally how I start off with a client is to find out, what are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? What are your skills? And how can we incorporate any of that at home? That's step 1. Let's say they say, well, you know, I used to be an accountant or a bookkeeper or something, and I'd like to move that home. Okay, good. So now we need to establish what's unique about you and who's your target market. Who do you want to focus on so that we have somebody that we can kind of go after as a potential client. Those are the first 2 stepping stones, and then we work from there.
Okay, cool. Now, what guidance would you offer to someone who might be looking at having their husband involved with their business, or maybe that's not a possibility, but either way, what guidance might you suggest?
You have to be incredibly aligned and in communication to pull it off. See, with my husband Dave and I, we were in very much communication from the beginning, which means open dialogue. Otherwise, things fester, explode. The other thing you want to do is set the job boundaries so that I don't think he's doing something. I turn around and I was like, you know, what happened to those 5 sales calls? And he's like, no, you were sales. I'm technical or something, right? You have to set these very specifics, and you have to have meetings. Like every Monday or every Sunday night, meet, schedule the week out, or else the whole thing kind of implodes.
Wow, okay. Now, could you comment on how you perceive this has impacted the children themselves over the years?
Oh man, bloom, blossom, and grow. Again, step one was we pulled it home, right? So we created this incubator of love, quite frankly. Sequestered them, you know, we had acres and deers and ponds and streams and, you know, a forest. That's where they were raised, 16 acres. And so it was paradise. Then off they go to school, you know, so once they started to go to school, we have a little bit of core time in the business, right? So it made it easier. Then they come back and then it's all about them again. And so they didn't realize that, you know, mummies and daddies, they had no idea what we did. You know, when people would say, I don't know, they're at home all the time. That's all they knew. But boy, they started to realize later in life as, you know, divorce rates went up, parents were splitting, kids would say things like, I never even see my dad, he doesn't come home till after I go to bed, he leaves early in the morning. They didn't realize how great they had it until as they got a little older. And of course, they're so well-balanced, maintained, managed, responsible, caring beings. I think it had a lot to do with, quite frankly, all of us just being together and being in massive open communication at all times.
Wow, okay, well said. So I think I just want to pick up on one thing you said. When your kids come home, it's all about them. So really, there's not only a focus that you're emphasizing on the work, there's actually a focus you're putting on the kids as well, just to emphasize that point.
Absolutely. Like when they came home at 4 o'clock at the end of the school day, we weren't kind of in the office anymore. We would move to the kitchen, what's your homework, what's happening, how was your day, let's have a snack, that type of thing. Then we would eat. And then it's kind of free. You guys go play, you do your own thing, and then Dave and I would head back into the office, probably around 8 o'clock.
Okay, good. All right, well, we're just about out of time here. So I'd like to find out if there's a website that people could go to for more information, and if there's a summating message you'd like to convey to the viewers.
Well, I'd love them to go to a website called fastactionresults.com. And that gets you connected to me, and it gets you a free gift as well. And as far as a message is concerned, I think if you want the possibility of working from home, creating your dream ideal lifestyle, whether it's to have freedom to travel or whether it's to be with your family, I can guarantee you it's possible. You just have to make that happen and put the procedures in place to have it be.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.